Okay. All right. Welcome everyone to this week's Pagan Book Club, where we are talking about modern witchcraft with the Greek gods by Mankey. Oh, Jason Mankey, the person right here. That is also the main author. There are also excerpts. Oh gosh, it did put us on Minecraft again. Why? I hate that. That's so annoying. I'm gonna have to look into why it is constantly trying to switch us over to Minecraft. That's really weird. Stupid freaking Twitch. All right, I'm just gonna put on some music that's unfortunately only gonna play for the Twitch channel because I can't double stream it. I don't know why. Where is the one? Twitch Save Classical. That's what I want. I'm not on the right audio device. No, I am on the right audio device. Oh, it's just nice and soft. Perfect. Fantastic. All right. So, per the usual, we're not going to read over the personal excerpt. We are going to, I do have stuff highlighted. If there are other things that are relevant, even if they're not in the book, you are welcome to bring them up. We love talking about it. We love talking about your personal experiences as well. Just make sure that you know that that's your personal experience and not like verified fact. I'm just going to quickly go over the terms UPG, SPG, and BPG. UPG, so first off, PG is personal gnosis, which is basically another way of saying your practice. Personal practice, right? SPG is for shared, so it's shared personal practice, right? And then there's verified, so VPG. So verified means that it comes from a scholarly source, which I love to point out because we have, like, if I'm just scrolling up to the previous chapter, y'all can see there. Mankey cites their sources. Love it. By the way, several of these books I did check are in the HH library. It is a private library for Discord server members only. I'm actually just going to put the Discord link in here. Where's my button? So many of these books are available. I know for sure we have, I believe, Ancient Mystery Cults. We also have Greek Religion by Walter Burke. We have a few by Burkert, and I believe we also have a few by Bowden. So make sure to take a look at that. I have too much lipstick on, so I need to get rid of some. I know that's like a weird side thing, but it's a texture thing. Creamy lipsticks deposit more, so there we go. Blech. All right, so Apollo. This is usually starts off with a personal experience, but so the author went to Delphi, and so the first thing I noted was, like, unlike most sites related to the gods of Olympus, Delphi was a place for all Greeks. Like, literally, it was one of the towns that, like, legitimately was like, send me your poor, your whatever. I don't know that phrase. I probably should learn it. But, like, literally everybody was welcome at Delphi, or Delphi, regardless of origin. Every Greek major city-state helped finance the ongoings at the Apollo sanctuary during its heyday. Even Sparta and Athens, who were very much at odds a lot of the time, even they were like, no, Delphi's important, right? There are certain, I'm getting goosebumps, Jesus, on my face again. A lot of the times when I do stuff that relates to the gods, I get goosebumps, and it's like really, it's nice, but like annoying. Excuse me. I cannot get rid of the yawns. I don't know why. So I just gotta make sure that this volume is good still. Okay. So I think of it kind of related to, I mean, Greece has a very big respect and love for their ancient culture. They spend a lot of time, and there's like little funds even today that are dedicated to restoring some of these temples and stuff. And I see that a lot in Europe. Partially also because I think the US has a much shorter history by like lifespan of countries. The US is like a teenager. like considering how far back the British Empire goes, how far back some like the Greek Empire, the Roman, like all of sort of like these very very old countries do tend to, I see, really um have a lot of importance in their culture over communal spaces and historical sites. The US does have that to an extent. After being in both countries, or in different countries, I believe that we have a lot less of it. But if I had to relate it to something here in the US, I would look at like national parks. And say like, yeah, like we all collectively, most of us agree that like making sure we have natural parks and like nice areas and places for like kids and families to go, that is part of our culture, that is part of our history. Like Big Sur, Yellowstone, those are all really important places here in the US. And like again, it's not just historically, it's also like what is important to our, I'm sorry, this is one of my favorite songs is playing and I fucking can't focus while it's playing. I need to pick different music. It's one of my favorite classical ones. It's Chavosky. It's the Nutcracker. I gotta find a different music. Give me a second, guys. I was just like, here, lo-fi. Let's put lo-fi on. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Like, if a song I love comes on, I'm just like, I need to jam out to it. Cool. So, yeah, is there a place that you guys like around where you live that has like great historical significance, or someplace you've been to? Because I think those are like very important to acknowledge and to actively take steps to maintain, not just for our own personal joys, but also for like the next generation. Because there's places that my younger brother's never gonna go see, and communally having those places protected, like experiencing that, I think it's very important to have those places protected, because like, oh my gosh, there's things that my younger sibling will never know about because they're just not going to be able to exist. Or like like 1 or 2 generations from now, a lot of Florida is going to be underwater. A lot of New Orleans is going to be underwater, or just not accessible to live in. And that's insane. So I love that there's this reverence in the Greek culture for these things. So Delphi, or Delphi, was the holiest spot. And the temple for Apollo was like the place in Delphi where Apollo shared his prophecies with his high priestess, the Pythia. Fun fact, we also have a Pythia in the Minecraft server, which I think is really funny. So Pythia was the title of the oracle at Delphi, and seekers came from like literally across the Mediterranean and beyond to hear the messages of Apollo given through his priestess. The word Pythia comes from the Greek word Pytho, which is another name for Delphi. So again, this just goes to show like the Greek Empire was very well known. The Greek pantheon was very well known. So when we say like, oh, because I do see this question fairly often in the community, that like, oh, like I'm not Greek, or like, how do we think the Greek gods like came over here? And very often I just go, they're gods. They can do whatever the fuck they want. But also VPG, because like that's my UPG, right? That's like my personal thing. I'm like, they're gods. They can do whatever the fuck they want, which I think is also SPG. Like a lot of people agree with that. It's shared. But as far as not just that, but VPG is the fact that there is historical documentation showing that many deities, Dionysus, many people heard of the deities and knew the pantheon. So like Apollo, they weren't just, and we're gonna also talk about Apollo's potentially like jumping across the pond. I'll explain it later, and we'll get to it if you haven't read it. And so like they were known or even came from other areas. So like the gods can do whatever the fuck they want. They have gone to, there are records in other areas of people talking about the Greek pantheon. There are records in other places that indicate that a deity was there first, like Dionysus. And then we also have the fact that we've talked about repeatedly in this book, that deities would often take over the name of a deity that was local, and it would become an epithet for that deity. So there's a lot of like merging as well, or rather less merging, more like inheriting the job title. That's the way I look at it. The previous deity was like, oh, okay, you're here now, great, I'm exhausted, I'm taking a vacay, here's my early retirement, you can take on the title, I don't give a shit, peace out. Yes, I have to relate everything to business. It makes the world easier. All right, Victoria's gonna take a second, and I don't know how to show you guys. Okay, I can do it on the stream, but let me see if I can do it on the stream in the book club. Yes, I can. Hold on. We're just gonna change what I'm streaming. Change stream to... Did I not open it yet? Open. Oh wait, that's just a picture. Oops. We actually need the video. There we go. So, I want to say a big thank you to our Patreon Temple patrons who help support like everything that isn't boosting the community. So like the Minecraft server, the website, we have some projects that we're trying to put out. Anything that we offer for cost, that we, eat some of it, things like that. And a big thank you to our Discord Pegasus boosters. We do not need any more boosting. Nobody boost us anymore, okay? We have the maximum boosting that we need. We have our amazing, and I just want to point this out because it is amazing. Thank you to our boosters, because we have our little member icons that we change every month according to the deity that we're honoring that month that's associated. Our Pegasus boosters also allow us to have high quality streaming, large file uploads and downloads, as well as like obviously the emojis, the stickers. And I do want to say a big thank you for that, because we use the stickers as assistance for moderation, as you can check if you want to look at the emojis and stickers. We have some that like just help to remind the community of certain things, like, keep the vibe high and the drama low. No, the gods are not mad at you. Yes, the gods love you. All of those things, reminding people to like check the rules, as well as some really dumb stuff, and also like know that the myths aren't literal. We have a lot of fun ones here too. And those are very important and very helpful for us moderators. In addition, it helps us with like our Patreon patrons and our Discord boosters get the nice holographic and fancy names. The mods have been able to get a more distinguishable not names, colors. Yeah, colors for our names. So the mods now have like this yellowy gold color, so you're always going to be able to find us, and we wouldn't be able to have those things without our amazing boosters. All right. It's funny, Victoria's like, oh, I'm gonna take a second, and then like, here, let me just talk incessantly. Actually, this is also a great time to put up an ad on Twitch. Oh, we're in an ad break. Nice timing. Yes, we need this. What is Victoria doing? Getting her snack. Also encouraging other people to get their snack. Also me realizing I did not bring a fork. So I have bananas and peanut butter. I'm still live on stream. I have bananas and peanut butter for my snack. Why? Because they're a great snack for book club. They're not loud. It's very delicious, and I have to have a snack because, I don't know, I'm chronically ill. All right, let me change the stream back to the book. for our Discord peoples. And then... oh, oops, one more thing. I'm gonna change the fan. It's getting hot in here because I have to stream. Watch the computer fan really start chugging. That was terrible. I know. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I realize I haven't been watching the YouTube chat. I'm really sorry. Okay, there we go. Alright, so... there was a lot of temples to Apollo. Like, pretty much everywhere. Because Apollo was associated with the sun. So, like, that's just... look, whether you want to or not, you're going to experience the sun. I'm going to put this in here. For anyone who feels bad charging for divination, charge for divination. It's been that way since forever. And Delphi required both a monetary fee and the sacrifice of a goat, aka food for the temple. Apollo essentially functioned as his father's spokesperson, so you would have so meta. I think that's the right word. You have Apollo, you have Zeus, who's, you know, he's also involved with like truth. So you have Zeus talking to Apollo, and then Apollo talking to the priestess. So when you're going to the priestess, the Pythia at Delphi, you are talking to the Pythia, or sometimes even you're talking, I think they also, I'm not sure, I believe that there were also people who were in charge of the Pythia, and you would tell them your question, and they would tell it to the Pythia. So potentially you could either be speaking to somebody who then speaks to the Pythia, or just straight to the Pythia themselves, who then speaks to Apollo, who then speaks to Zeus. Talk about telephone, guys. Apollo was essentially functioned as his father's spokesperson, sharing the sky god's wisdom in an approachable fashion. I love that. I think that's very important. Because, like, you can convey information, but if it's, like, super specific, it's gonna just go right over someone's head. Like, it's got to be an approachable fashion. Like, have you ever heard someone explain something in an extremely technical way that could have been explained in a much simpler way? As someone who was married to an engineer and an IT guy, an IT engineer. Yep. The amount of decoding I've had to do in my life for people is hilarious. It's actually kind of what I do here. My job is to help make things easier to digest. I mean, and a lot of the community is really, really good at that, I have to say. So it was believed that an older woman... okay, let me just go back here. While Greece could be frustratingly patriarchal, but let's be honest, a lot of places were back then, and Greek was not bad considering. The Pythia was like always women, and originally they required them to be young. But after someone did something terrible, they required them to be over 50 years old. Why? Because it was believed that a person was less likely to be a victim. Yep. In a nod to the original custom, though, this is funny, I think. I saw this and I started laughing when I was reading the book. These now older Pythia had to dress as younger women, and they remained celibate for working for Apollo. First off, menopause was still a thing back then. Which, scientifically, like, women who experience AFABs, who experience menopause, are, like, a little less feisty. Which, that makes that job easier, right? That part of the job became super easy. They're probably like, oh, you're the new Pythia, but, like, you have to abstain forever and ever. And the person's like, yeah, Not a problem, brah. And then I also thought about, I'm sorry, I'm still laughing at the imagery of it. Like this older woman dressing in like cute outfits, like that you would normally see for like teens and tweens. Like, think of, obviously this is not the clothes that they had back then, but the image I had in my head was like a Hot Topic shirt and like a short skirt. And I was just dying reading and just going like, that would be so funny. I love everything about this. All the power to you. You go, darling. Pythia. Like, yes. Peak. I love this. Peak hilarity. Where's my fucking clip button on Twitch? Just gonna mark the stream. Awesome. Why isn't my, there it is. So I thought that was freaking hilarious. It's also assumed that the advice of the Pythia came from more than just divine intervention, and that some hallucinogenic substances may have played a role. So we've talked about that there's a lot of insinuation that there was a lot of getting high and hallucinogens and stuff in ancient Greece. And while that was certainly not true, just like we read in the previous chapter regarding Demeter and the mystery cults, what was it that they thought was they thought a particular plant was involved, and it was involved in the making of this drink that was then given to the initiates. Now, mind you, again, as we talked about last time, there were thousands of initiates. Thousands of people came to join the mystery cults of Demeter and Persephone back in the old days. Sorry, I had to take a drink. And the thing is, I'm just gonna move this because I don't want the trigger warning things on the page while we're talking. The thing is, to grow enough of this plant to be used for that many people, for thousands of people, would have left a significant agricultural footprint. And so while the community, the scientific and archaeological community, is torn on this topic, there remains that sort of evidence. And there's one other thing, I can't remember what it was, that that indicated that this probably wasn't the case. Because of the fact that we have scientific evidence against it, it would be considered VPG. And it shows that even though that there's a lot of talk about hallucinogens, and, you know, altered mind states within Greek culture and within Greek mythology and religious history. I'm just going to start calling it religious history. Aggressive compliance. Or is it malicious compliance? I don't think that's the right phrase, but, like, I still think it's funny. We have to start reclaiming this shit. Anyway, there is also, and I was talking about this to a friend of mine the other day, and I was saying, like, I had this idea and this notion of it. This is purely my hypothesis. Look, I mean, raise your hand if you've ever had a mixed alcoholic drink. If you've ever seen a mixed alcoholic drink, right? You will see, and we know by, you know, water and oil, certain liquids will sink or rise to the top, right? And depending on when it was made as well, if it's made immediately during the mysteries, then regardless of the point of what I'm saying with this is that it could have been, like, if it was made immediately, it doesn't evenly mix. Like, if you pour any drink into water, you'll see that it doesn't immediately mix, right? You have to actively mix it in order to have it fairly even throughout before you start pouring it. If you mix it, if you pour it in and then you don't mix it thoroughly and then you pour a cup for somebody, they're going to get an uneven ratio. So here's what I'm saying. It could have been that they received an uneven ratio and some people received more of these substances which caused them to have hallucinogenic effects or be in altered mind states Um, while overall, if you mixed it completely, and the people who then came after those first one or two, or the last one or two, right, depending on how heavy the liquid was, and how heavy, like, the mixing, basically, which one settles and which one rises. I don't know the right word for that. So I'm gonna also put this in here, and we're coming back to the hallucinogenics here. It very well could have been a thing, but it wasn't always. They weren't always fucking high. That's all I'm saying. And that sometimes there is evidence that that is against that fact, because they're not saying that it wasn't used. It was definitely used, but that if they had enough to get everyone, thousands of people high, like, it would have been like a lot. And I'm gonna go with this. That also, we're gonna read this one now. It is often assumed that the advice of Pythia came from more than just divine intervention, and that some hallucinogenic substances may have played a role. Ancient frequently wrote that the Pythia inhaled vapors, leading to speculation about various drugs, and most often some sort of intoxicating gas from deep within the earth. Delphi does sit on two fault lines, and the result is that the gases such as ethylene, methane, and I'm not going to keep saying those, often drift toward the surface and find their way into nearby springs. The Homeric hymn of Apollo suggests goats played a large role in determining the site of Apollo's most famous sanctuary. According to the hymn, the shepherds watching the goats noticed the animals getting high from the gases emanating from the ground, and the shepherds then attributed the wonder to Apollo. So she answered questions while in a state of mania, I don't know how to say this, which was controlled by Apollo. It was also controlled by Dionysus. Remember ritualistic madness? Which I could also see as mania. Those who believe that the Pythia's power came from chemically induced mental state often point to references of mania as a way to support their ideas. But the Pythia did not breathe their vapors in isolation. Male priests of Apollo were always nearby the Pythia. In addition, the Pythia were recorded as being lucid and speaking in complete and coherent sentences while sharing their prophecies. Now I'm going to use an analogy of myself. Or I'm going to use an analogy for weed. If you have a higher tolerance for weed, you can probably, and I can confirm this from personal. Remember, I'm 35 years old. I live in a state where weed is legal. Don't do illegal shit. HH told you not to. I will get a little bit high off of one joint. I will not get high to the point of being unable to function or speak in coherent sentences. I know I talk weird and I forget words a lot. That's normal. It happens all the time. So it's not just when I smoke on stream. So this altered mind state, and even if they were given something to smell, if you stand too close to a fire, you are going to get a little woozy. I am saying that both could have happened, because we're seeing both, right? Where they're saying that there's evidence pointing to an altered mind state, and there is areas within Greece that this gas comes out of. Sorry, where are we? This one. And it could have been both. So, do I think that personally hallucinogenics were used? Yeah, I do. Or some sort of substance? Yeah. But I also believe that you can accurately speak and speak in lucid, coherent sentences or show lucidity. And so the proof of that is they're saying that there were other people and the other people didn't get high. All right. That the Pythia's pronouncements were coherent shouldn't come as much of a surprise, as Apollo has long been a god of both music and poetry. But long before being the god of poets, he was the god of music. Music. Yes, that's where the word music comes from, obviously. So Greek, music. I'm trying to remember, because I know someone has said it in front of me before, and I'm trying to remember how to pronounce it. was more than just instruments or singing. It was a combination of dance, instrumental music, and sung text. Think of hymns. And was designed for public consumption, meaning this was a show. They actively planned this. And these people who did this were triple threats, man. Although they probably also had people who were just the musicians. Apollo's dance was not the ecstatic free-form leaping of the god of Pan, but rather a precise and designed to bring the populace of the city or town together as a show of civic virtue. It was a town fair, like it was a festival. It was like a mini festival. The combination of instrumental sounds, sung verse, and dance was a show of beauty, a trait highly valued by ancient Greeks. Greeks seriously loved beauty, but not just beauty externally, beauty internally, and beauty of life. And I fucking love that. That's all I have to say about that. I'm gonna have another piece of my banana now. Take a minute, ponder the beautiful things of life. Hold on, sorry, I just saw your text tip tap. Let me just see. Pencosa, Florida. Ooh, yeah. And it does sound kind of like a title of a pope. Pythia is it's a really good name for a title. Yeah. You're not wrong to compare because you're comparing high religious positions. So like, yeah, that would be like a position of a pope if we were to compare the two pantheons or the two religions together. I can say pantheons. Christians also have saints they worship. And yeah, it's a very strong religious position, and everyone contributes to the Temple of Apollo at Delphi. You mean like the hallucinogens and the chemicals and stuff as to what being used during the holidays? Yes. Yeah. It absolutely could be. Because they for sure knew about some stuff being hallucinogenic, and having altered mind states, obviously. So I would imagine that at other events, they would probably also partake. And like things like maybe like Saturnalia or Lupercalia for sure. That's not Greek, but is it Greek? No, wait a minute. Lupercalia. I don't think so. It was Roman. Yeah, it's Roman. It's not Greek, it's Roman. But like very similar. So I would imagine yes. I would hypothesize, yes, this is personal opinion. I don't for specifically like Saturnalia. I know that they drank wine and stuff, but I don't think it mentions specifically hallucinogens. That doesn't mean that they didn't personally partake. So let's see. Oh. The word. Oh gosh. Pagan. I don't know. Song of Praise. Is related to Apollo because music. It was the word came from a Mycenaean deity who functioned primarily as a healer and averter of evil. Over time, Pinion faded into the background. Pinion? No, Paid. I don't know. And that word became an epithet for Apollo in his role as a healer. What did we say earlier? This happened a lot. And we're just gonna mention it in a second. It was not uncommon for a dormant god like Apollo to absorb the attributes of other lesser deities. Sorry, not dormant, dominant attributes of lesser deities, as we mentioned before. The deity whose influence waned the most as a result of Apollo was probably Helios. This is actually why I say hi to or good night to Helios and good morning Helios, because yeah, because of Apollo, Helios's influence waned. And, you know, he was once an unquestionable god of the sun, and then the two deities became conflated. And actually, in certain places, they just use them interchangeably, which I get. But at the same time, like, I think of it as Apollo is driving Helios to work, and then he has to go pick him up. I know, I make things silly. But like legitimately, Apollo drives his chariot and bringing Helios across the sun, and then he's got to, go take him home. And that's why this is actually specifically why, as I said, I say hi and like good morning and good night to Helios, because like, yeah, I feel like Helios got ignored a little bit. Oh, this is also important. I forgot to highlight here. No, thank you. So Apollo is also sometimes called the most Greek of all the Greek gods, because he represented so much of what Greeks valued in society. Moderation, youth, beauty, art, poetry, music. The problem with that is that he is not mentioned in the first list of the Greek gods, in the Linear B tablets. There's two tablets, Linear A and Linear B. That's just what they're fucking called. I don't remember why, but it always confused the shit out of me. These are two tablets. One was found on the mainland and one was from on an island nearby Greece, and they both talked about the Greek gods. The thing is, they were both written at two different times, I think, and those two did not have any interaction with each other. So, the problem with him not being mentioned in the first list of the gods means that he came in later on the scene, right? And this also happened with Dionysus. He was actually, the records of him were from, I think it was Mesopotamian. From the Mesopotamian times and far from Greece. and then he like disappeared for a bit, and then he showed up with the Pantheon. He's like, sup? Hilarious. So over the last 200 years, numerous theories for the development of Apollo in antiquity have been proposed by scholars, with many arguing for a foreign birth. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle, bleh, with Apollo, for the result of like two different cultures uniting, right? The Dorians were the last wave of Greek-speaking people that descended southward into the land we call today Greece, and they held tribal gatherings that were very similar to like a tribal moot. I've never heard of that word, so we're just gonna keep on that one. The Dorians often referred to Apollo by the nickname Apollon. The Dorian influence on Apollo. I have a cat. Go ahead. Tempo. Fine. It's your choice. A god concerned with civic pride, community, seems very logical. Go ahead. Silly kitty. In the East, also Asia Minor, Apollo was called Lykios, a name that was derived from the city of Lykia, one of the strongest centers in his cult. So Lykios is an epithet. Lykios became such a popular epithet for Apollo that he was recognized, for that god, was recognized by name in much of Greece. I don't know why they say Greek and sometimes and then Greece, and like I feel like the way that they do that is dumb. So the precise origins of Apollo will probably never be known, but having a reminder to eat. But obviously he's very influential. And he was like the favorite son of Zeus, and by that would be the heir to the throne of Olympus. Again, not that his dad would ever relinquish it, but like, yeah, like that's pretty big, right? Apollo is also the only one to be integrated within the Roman pantheon, like by his name. His name is still Apollo. I know a lot of people say Apollon, but like his name is still Apollo. This is also interesting. As Christianity began to grow in popularity in the beginning of 30 CE, Christians appropriated the appearance of Apollo for their god, Jesus Christ. Or Early images of Jesus are very different to the ones we know today and are often depicted as a young beardless man who greatly resembles Apollo. So Christian writers also like to claim that that Jesus was the true Apollo, and they reinterpreted the myths, right? As the history is written by the victors. So Christianity provided a second life, basically, for Apollo as a representative of the sun. So their Italian frescoes in Christian churches often depict the 7 known planets of Roman deities, with Artemis and her brother Apollo playing the role of the moon and the sun, which were thought to be the planets during the medieval times. This helped to keep Apollo alive in the public imagination long after the other figures such as Helios had been mostly forgotten. Apollo would play an indirect role in the reemergence of witchcraft near the start of the 20th century. And Apollo was often used in different, magic, like spells and things like that. Why? Because of his association with healing and divining. Basically, his presence can be felt every time we work with tarot. The sun is very important to us. Like, even not in magic, not in religion, not in, agriculture. Many people have, most people have vitamin D deficiency. Why? Because our bodies have not evolved enough to adapt to the change in our lifestyles. Meaning that our bodies still are like, no, you need to get outside. You need to see sun. You're not meant for this. We haven't evolved to match our physical evolution has not matched our technological one. It is far behind. And so we need to get sun. At the very basic level, every single person needs Apollo. To bring his chariot, to bring Helios, right? So, every single culture has a very strong connection. And again, going back to what I was saying, even beyond just yourself, you have agriculture. So they needed the sun to survive. There's every fucking civilization that has ever planted anything or needed the outside, because we also need plants, right? And we need animals. We need it beyond ourselves. And his magic can be felt every time we write poetry, we create music. Apollo remains just as beloved today as he was 2,000 years ago. I love this. I love this ending. I love this chapter. It was so good. I really like this book. This is a very useful book. So, this is Personal Insights with Apollo. This is a very specific someone's story, which does, this person is Derek Land, is a 3rd degree high priest in the Phoenix tradition. Don't know what that means. Operating out of Austin, Texas. Good for them. He helps run a coven and puts on an annual festival called Austin Witch Fest. Nice. So if you want to read the personal thing, you can get access to the book through the library. We also have some spells as per every chapter. Spell to avert evil or break a curse. We have a Pythia divination ritual. Yeah. So there we are. That's our chapter for Apollo. I'm scrolling too fast. Next time we'll be doing Artemis. That's page 117. There we go. It's in the chat. Thank you so much for joining. I love how meaty this book is. It's really good. And of course we have, look at all these citations. I love it. And yeah, may your gods bless you on your journeys, and thank you for joining. Have a great day, everyone. Happy